I am a Pokemon fan. I am a major Pokemon fan. I am a 14 plus year veteran of the Pokemon franchise. My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Ruby, and my favorite generation is Generation 5 in the Unova region. In stating this, I am establishing my credibility as a PokeTuber. I love Pokemon, and in no way am I intentionally attacking the franchise. I'm just expressing my opinions, predictions, hopes for Pokemon. My opinions may differ from those of the Pokemon community, but I do hope you come to find my position and devotion to Pokemon interesting. Also, I love Mewtwo. And now I present to you the very best Pokemon fan video number 1, No Pokemon Switch in 2018. I think there's anyone else in this entire world that is more excited for Pokemon on a home console on Nintendo Switch like I am. One of the biggest Pokemon fans I know of. And I am so excited for this game from the moment that it was even teased or announced. I was excited for this game. And the big talk is how the game is coming out this year, most likely holiday 2018, because Nintendo wants to sell all these Switch systems, and the 3DS is outdated. And since they've already finished Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, there's really nothing left. There's no holdup. Now, this may seem like a shock, but as much as I love Pokemon and want it on the Switch, I don't see it coming out this year. Realistically, it would make more sense if the Pokemon game comes out next year in 2019. And yes, I know all your Pokemon fans are going to be mad and talking about how I have no credibility as a Pokemon fan because this is what Game Freak says, this is what Nintendo says, but let me explain to you why the game most realistically fits as a 2019 launch. But before I get into that, let's start with your argument. The argument for Pokemon Switch in 2018. The first argument, the E3 announcement. Now, we all remember the E3 announcement where Pokemon president announced that a Pokemon game, hardcore RPG game, was being produced for the Nintendo Switch. And that got everyone excited. They're like, Pokemon guarantee 2018. But first, you have to think about this. That announcement wasn't something that was planned. You can tell that is something that wasn't planned. That announcement at E3 was more likely a reaction to the fans when we got the announcement for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I mean, when Pokken Tournament DX was announced for the Switch, I was excited. Then I realized, those are some 3DS games. I wonder what those kids are playing. And it turned out to be Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I was excited because I was expecting this. I knew that there wasn't going to be any other generational remake in Gen 7, so I knew that the only other game that they could make would be a director's cut to Sun and Moon. So I was expecting this. However, due to the Pokemon Stars rumor that had been going around, the fan base was expecting Pokemon Switch, specifically Pokemon Sun and Moon on the Switch. And when that wasn't the announcement, the entire fan base just went, oh my gosh, what is Game Freak doing? What is Pokemon doing? Why are we still stuck on this 3DS that's so old? It's as if the fan base lost sense of who they were and what Pokemon is, and they just exploded. Not really, and they just lost all sense of comprehension. The guy said a little more than a year. because it was E3, everyone just assumed, well, a year from now would be 2018, and a little more than a year from now would be holiday 2018. So yeah, holiday 2018. And if you look on the official sites that have this game posted, the release dates all say 2018 or later. So I guess the fact that it says 2018 or later kind of gives the hope that it will be this year, 2018. But the fact that they added or later means that it's not guaranteed. And I think the later fact is more permanent, and the game will be pushed back to 2019. The second argument for Switch in 2018 is Nintendo themselves. Now, the Nintendo Switch is the fastest selling console in the US. The Switch has sold almost 15 million units since it launched back in March of last year, already outselling the Wii U. And Nintendo has a goal of trying to sell 20 million Switches in 2018. Now, that's not an impossible number. I mean, they already sold 15 million. It's barely been a full year since the Switch has come out. However, they know that being that they've already released a Mario and a Zelda in the first year, that they need some big heavy hitters. And since everyone's not expecting Metroid Prime 4 to come out this year, most likely next year, what's the next big thing on everyone's list? Pokemon. And I kind of see this argument. I mean, if you look at Pokemon sales, the main series Pokemon sales, they have been the driving forces for sales on Nintendo's handhelds. Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green on the Game Boy and Game Boy Colors were the best selling games on those systems. I mean, Tetris is technically the most selling game on that system, but Tetris was a pack-in game that had been with the system longer than Pokemon had even started. So that aside, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green sold almost a little over 31 million copies. Then on the Game Boy Advance, Ruby and Sapphire were the best-selling games for that system, selling over 16 million copies. Diamond and Pearl on the DS with over 17 million copies, and Pokemon X and Y with over 60 million copies. These numbers show that people will buy Pokemon games. And if you look at these numbers, if Nintendo is trying to reach 20 million Switches sold, then a good nearly 80% of those Switches would be sold strictly off of Pokemon games. So I would see why people are like, well, if Nintendo wants this goal to be reached, then they need to drop an important game this year, and Pokemon would be a big game. I understand that. But as we go into my argument for why it would not be the case, you will see why this, despite being a good reason for a launch this year, won't be enough for a launch this year, and it will most likely be next year. Now, my argument for no Pokemon Switch in 2018. Before I get into my argument, let's take a little trip down the Pokemon timeline, shall we? Generation 1. By the way, these are all based on Japan's releases, since Pokemon started in Japan and then start coming out worldwide 2 years later after that, and the release dates have been late. So this is all Japan release dates and time. Generation 1, Pokemon Red and Green came out in 1996. Then Pokemon Yellow came out in 1998. And then later that year, North America gets Pokemon Red and Blue in 1998, and then Pokemon Yellow in 1999. Generation 1 was from 1996 to 1999. Then we move on to Generation 2. Generation 2, which lasted from 1999 to 2002, released Pokemon Gold and Silver in 1999 for Japan, Gold and Silver in North America in 2000, Pokemon Crystal in Japan in 2000, and Pokemon Crystal in North America in 2001. Generation 3, which lasted from 2002 to 2006. Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Sapphire, released in Japan in 2002. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire followed sometime later in 2003 in North America. Then we got Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Leaf Green, which both released in 2004 in Japan and North America. And then later in 2004, Japan got Pokemon Emerald. And then 2005, North America got Pokemon Emerald. Generation 4, which lasted 2006 to 2010, we got Diamond and Pearl in Japan, which came out in 2006. Then Pokemon Diamond and Pearl in North America that came out in 2007. Then we got Pokemon Platinum that came out in Japan in 2008. A year later, we have Pokemon Platinum North America in 2009. Later in 2009, Japan gets Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And then in 2010, North America gets Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Generation 5, which was 2010 2013. In 2010, Japan gets Pokemon Black and White. In 2011, we get Pokemon Black and White in North America. And in 2012, Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 come out in both Japan and North America. It wasn't until Gen 6 where the Japanese and worldwide release dates became one, so everyone was on par with each other. So in 2013, Pokemon X and Y released worldwide. In 2014, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire released worldwide. And in 2015, there was a break where there was no mainline games. Instead, the hype was for Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. And that was during Gen 6, which was 2013 to 2016. And that brings us to our current generation, Generation 7, with the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon worldwide in 2006, and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon worldwide in 2017. This is the generation that we are currently in. Notice how I put a block with 2019. And that leads us into my first argument. The generational pattern. If you look through the timeline, did you realize a pattern? Did you see a pattern? Did you notice anything? 3 or 4 years. Each generation of Pokemon has lasted 3 or 4 years. See, Generation 1 was 3 years, Generation 2 was 3 years, Generation 3 was 4 years, Generation 4 was 4 years, Generation 5 was 3 years, Generation 6 was 3 years, and Generation 7 was 3 years. And, well, I say Generation 7 is 3 years because if my mindset is correct, it shouldn't be 2 years. 2018 shouldn't have a mainline release. It should be filled with side games. For example, we have Detective Pikachu coming out this year in North America. So this seems more realistic. If each generation is 3 to 4 years, then Generation 7 should be 2016 to 2019, which means that the next Pokemon Hardcore RPG game should come out in 2019. Also, to note, after Generation 1, there's always been a 1 to 2 year, mostly 2 year system delay for Pokemon games. For example, the DS came out in 2004, but Pokemon Diamond and Pearl did not come out on the DS until 2006 in Japan. The Nintendo 3DS came out in 2011, but Pokemon X and Y didn't come out until 2013. Those are 2 years after the system's releases. The Nintendo Switch came out in 2017. If this pattern is also correct, then the Nintendo Switch Pokemon game should come out in 2019, 2 years, a little more than 2 years after the system's release. Now for my second argument, the transfer and storage system for Pokemon. ever since we transitioned from the DS and DSi to the 3DS, we have had a Pokemon storage or banking system. Pokemon Bank and the Pokemon Transfer Service, which allowed us to transfer Pokemon from the Gen 5 games to the Gen 6 games. And Pokemon Bank allows us to store up to 3,000 Pokemon in an online storage system, which you have to pay $5 a year for. Pretty nice. It was easy to connect from the DS to the 3DS as long as you had two DSs and wireless connection. But this is a Pokemon game coming to the Switch. This is a Pokemon game coming from handheld to home console. And one big issue Game Freak's going to have to deal with is creating a brand new storage system, because I don't think that they'll be able to make something exactly like Pokemon Bank or have Pokemon Bank extend to the Switch, because it leads to issues of, well, if I have Pokemon Bank on my Switch and try to link up accounts, will my Pokemon in Pokemon Bank on my 3DS appear on the Switch? And then what happens if I have Pokemon in the bank on the Switch version? Will they appear on the 3DS version for some reason? Then you also have to find a way to connect the 3DS to the Switch. I know there was one Nintendo Switch game early in 2017 that did this, but it wasn't for anything big. It was for normal functions. This is something big. And while making the game is important, having Pokemon fans be able to transfer their Pokemon, their rare Pokemon legendaries over to the next game is going to be crucial. Because I don't think they can afford to have another issue like what happened in Generation 3, where the technology of the Game Boy Advance wasn't able to connect to the Game Boy Color. And so people who played the original Red, Blue, Green, Gold, Silver, and Crystal couldn't transfer Pokemon to Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire, Red, Leaf, Green. That is what led to the remakes happening. So I think that Pokemon is going to need more time to focus on this along with the main game, and that's why the game will most likely come out in 2019. And my final reason for Pokemon Switch in 2019, not 2018, is back to one again. As we know, Pokemon started on the Game Boy, a single screen system. Now, Pokemon on a single screen system at the Game Boy wouldn't work out now because there's so many features. But back then, it was simply the gameplay and the battling. There really wasn't extra features or mini games and things like that, so that was fine. Then, when Pokemon made the switch to dual screens, we got more features. We got Pokemon and Me. We had touchscreen features that allowed us to visually see the battle screen and also have our options on the bottom. It brought a lot of new features, things like Mantine Surf. And the 3DS helped grow the Pokemon franchise. I mean, the 3DS wasn't the most powerful system, but Pokemon still grew graphically. And Pokemon was able to expand on more and more of the features that make the Pokemon games more enjoyable. Now, they're going from two screens to one screen. Now, making the core game on a single screen isn't the issue. It is not the issue. In fact, being that you have a controller, you can make the battle options controller buttons, and those expand to more control buttons. That's simple. But what about the features? Because no one plays Pokemon just for the game anymore, or just for competition. People play these games for other things. Some people like to pet their Pokemon. So Pokemon and Me was a big thing. People like the Mantine Surf thing. People actually enjoyed the Ultra Wormholes. These are features that were helped by the fact that the 3DS had two screens, a regular screen and a touch screen. So they're going to have to work a bit more in order to really understand the Switch and how to not only get the core game working on there, but get other extra features that people will be interested in. So those are my reasons for Pokemon Switch in 2019. So, what is my official prediction for Pokemon Switch? Generation 8, which will be the next official generation of Pokemon, will start in 2019. It will most likely launch spring, because if it gets pushed back from 2018 to 2019, then an early spring launch would make sense. Or if they really, really, really want to try to push things, at holiday 2019 launch isn't unlikely, but it will definitely be 2019. And we already know Generation 8 Pokemon is going to stick with releasing 2 games as the start of a generation. That's not changing. Then, in 2020, about a year or so after the Gen 8 games, we will get our Generation 4 remakes. And I'll make a whole nother video about Generation 4 remakes, but we'll definitely be getting those around holiday season 2020. Then, in 2021, we will get a director's cut of the Generation 8 games, and that will come around holiday season 2021. I predict, and if this is correct, I predict that Generation 8 will last from 2019 until 2023, where the next generation of Pokemon will start. That's my prediction. Of course, I don't know anything. Game Freak's trying to be unpredictable. Nintendo is on this new hot streak. I could be wrong about this. And nothing guarantees I'm right. Nothing guarantees that the Pokemon fans are right. But this is what I think. And no matter if the Pokemon game does come out this year, 2018, or my prediction is right and it comes out in 2019, I'm hyped and I'm ready for it. And I hope all of you are too. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please be sure to share it, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Be sure to comment below how you feel about Pokemon Switch.